and lay down because it's a warm Monday evening. So laying down is probably a nice thing to do. So we're all laying down here in studio. And we can, of course, take any position that's comfortable in the body. So we can have the knees bent with the feet on the floor or extend the legs out. We can take the arms out, perhaps nice and wide. And then we'll, if we're happy to close our eyes, we'll close our eyes. So if you prefer to keep your eyes open, just see if you can soften around the eyes. So we can soften around the eye sockets. We can soften into the temples, and we can let the eyelids be soft, maybe a little heavy. And then we'll take some slow, steady breaths here. Deep and steady. And with each of those breaths, there is a sinking into being, a sinking into our body, a meeting of our body, a meeting of the heart, the mind, and the breath. So the breath is the thread between these different aspects of being. The breath brings these aspects of being together. So of course, this doesn't always necessarily happen immediately at the beginning of a yoga practice. You know, sometimes it takes a little while to transition. So we transition from whatever came before now into this. So how we make that transition is with patience. It's not that we're looking to arrive here on our mat and find sort of instant calmness, instant release. But we're setting up the conditions for calmness and release to come to us. Okay. Well done. Let's just bring in the leg that is, so bend both knees if your legs are extended and place your feet to the floor. Draw in your knee that is closest to me or closest to the screen if you're at home. And I want us to, first of all, we're going to keep the knee drawn in towards the chest. So you can hold the shin or you can hold behind the thigh if you need more space for the knee. And then we're going to feel the leg in towards the torso, and we're going to maintain this position of the leg into the torso. So we're going to rock across the back. So the leg is going to move with the torso. So this is just a movement across the back of the body. So you can press into your foot that's on the floor to let the body rock back and forth. So we get this little massaging action through the buttocks, through the back muscles. Okay, and when we've moved through this a few times with the breath, so let's just check in that we've got that movement happening with the breath. There's a relationship between the movement of the body and the flow of the breath. Okay, wonderful. When we've moved through that a few times, we'll come back to the center. We're going to keep that same leg drawn in towards us, but this time we're going to move the leg. So we're going to let the leg move from side to side so that knee can draw out to the side and it can draw back in. There may be a little movement that happens across the back of the body, but what we can feel here, the difference is that we're moving the femur within the hip joint. We're moving the thigh bone there within the hip joint. So we'll start to feel some work into the hip and groin area, maybe the inner thigh area, as we let the leg move from side to side. And again, it is supported or joined by the breath, informed by the breath, guided by the breath. Okay, so we'll bring that leg back into the center now. And we're going to raise that same leg up towards the ceiling. We can just take our arms out either wide to the body, or you can rest your hands on your torso if you prefer. And we're going to just point the toes towards the ceiling, then draw them back. So we're moving between plantar and dorsiflexion of the foot. So as we move the foot here, this movement from the ankle joint, what we're doing is reaching into a stretch through the shin and through the calf alternately. So we can feel how we play into that stretch through the front and the back of the leg. That's it. Okay. Then we'll just bring that foot to pause to ease off. And we're going to play with a lifting and lowering the whole leg. Now, in fact, no, I'm going to backtrack on that. Before we do that, we're just going to bend the knee. So we're going to draw the foot down back towards buttock and raise the leg up. So that's the movement. But we're going to see if we can just bounce our heel off our buttock if we can. Doesn't matter if you don't make contact. So, it depends on how much give there is there between your calf and thigh. You might not make contact, but you may. So we'll just move that leg up and down. So this is based on a practice that's called the deer pose, which is taken from a 18th century Hatha yoga text, where you literally kick your own bum. Okay, now let's extend that leg back up. Take a breath. Feel into any movement, so maybe give it a little shake out so you can release any gripping. And now we're going to move that leg up and down. So we're going to keep the leg pretty much in extension here. And we're going to lower the leg slowly down to the floor. So we're going to keep that support through the foot as we bring the leg down. And then we raise the leg up. So you're going to feel that there's going to be a little movement up and down the pelvis, a little roll into your lower back as the leg raises. And then as the leg lowers, you roll down your pelvis towards your tailbone, and the lower back may lightly lift a little. You're not creating that lift deliberately, but you'll just notice that the lumbar comes into lighter contact. So we can just play into that movement for a few cycles, keeping the breath really steady. Okay, well done. Let's bring that foot to the floor for a moment. Have a breath, realign your pelvis, pick it up, lengthen it towards your feet, place it back down, extend both legs to the floor, and then take a few breaths and just feel into whatever it is you feel. Feel into the difference between the two legs. You're welcome to move the body in any way you wish to. If little intuitive movement wants to creep into the body, don't suppress it. Don't suppress your intuition in your practice. Listen to it. In fact, we kind of bring our intuition into the foreground of our practice. Okay, let's bend the knees now and we'll place the feet to the floor again. So we're going to draw the other knee in towards the chest. And again, you can either hold your shin or you can hold behind the thigh. Again, we're going to keep that knee drawn in towards the body and we're going to let the whole body and the leg move together. So we're going to place, move, turn into a little rocking across the back. So you can use the push off of this foot that's in contact with the floor to move from side to side, to rock across the back of the body. That's it. Giving your breath to the action and giving your whole self to the action. We've taken the time to come and attend this yoga practice this evening. So let's attend it fully. Give our whole being to it. Okay, we're going to come back into the center. And again, this time the back's going to pretty much remain stable on the floor, but it will move a little, but we're going to let that movement of the thigh move in the hip joint. So we're going to let that knee draw out to the side as we keep hold of the knee, shin, or behind the thigh and draw back in. So this time we're feeling into that movement there through the hip. And we're breathing into it. That's it. Let's see if we can allow our facial muscles to soften into this. Notice how easy it is for a little bit of holding to creep in. And if you relax through your facial muscles, even if you only just find one part of the face and relax that, notice how it changes your practice. Notice how it influences the rest of the experience. It will invite the rest of the body into that same release. It can't not, because the rest of your body is not separate from that experience of release. Okay, we're going to raise that leg up again. And again, I don't mind where you place the arms. You might take them out wide. You might keep your hands on the torso. You might take your arms above your head even. And we're going to start by moving the foot between dorsi and plantar flexion. Okay, so dorsiflexion is when we draw the toes back towards the shin, and plantar flexion is when we point the toes. Okay. So you just move the foot there, and then again, you can feel that little pull through the tissue, through the leg. So we'll feel it predominantly through the shin and through the calf, but maybe you can feel that movement creeping up into the thigh. You might feel the tone through the front thigh muscles, the quadriceps, and you might breathe into them or breathe into any part of the body that would benefit from receiving your breath and receiving prana, life force, through the breath. Okay, wonderful. Now we're going to bend that knee again. So we draw the foot back towards its own buttock. And then again, we can play with a little, just bouncing off our own bum. So hopefully your bum's not too bony. You've got some flesh there that you can bounce off. Okay. And again, let the breath be responsive. Let the breath be free. Okay, let's extend that leg back up towards the ceiling. Again, you might find at this stage you want to shake it out. Perhaps if there's any holding there, give the leg a little shake out. Then, with the leg extended up towards the ceiling, we're going to lower the leg down. So there's a little support that comes from this foot that's on the floor, the bent leg. You can feel that there's a little purchase through that foot that helps to support this lifting and lowering. There is a little tone that will naturally come into the abdominal muscles to allow this lifting and lowering. And hopefully we've got that support of the breath again. And then once more, you can just feel this movement up and down the back of the pelvis, this light lifting and lowering of the lumbar, the back of the waist into this. And we can feel into that flow of the breath as we move. The forehead is soft, the jaw is released. Okay. And then when you're ready, let's bend that knee and place the foot to the floor. Take a couple of deeper breaths or so. Maybe extend the legs out if you wish. Let the legs release into the floor completely. And let your awareness just drop into the softness of the breath. The softness of the breath at the center of your experience. Okay, well done. Let's bend our knees again and place our feet to the floor. We're going to roll onto our side. We're going to come up from our side. So we'll take our time coming up from our side, just so, because we've been down for a while. If we come up too quickly, we might feel a little dizzy. So we're going to come all the way up to standing, and you're going to stand with the feet hip width apart. And whilst you do that, I'm going to check. I think the last person has now left the building, so we can have a little air in here, if that's okay. Okay. Just nice to have some air. Okay, so we're going to place the feet around about hip width apart, and just going to have just a little shimmy out of the shoulders there. You can have a little bounce out, a little wiggle through the hips. So there's a little loosening of the body. And then we'll come back up to an upright position. And we'll find the breath. So Tadasana, we're all familiar with this posture. We release the arms down, we soften the forehead, release the jaw. We let the breath flow. And then we rise up through the midline of the body. Bring a little light tone into the belly. Okay. So we're going to play with a little movement that's going to get some movement into our shoulder predominantly, but also the elbow, the wrist, and even the joints of the fingers. So this is something that I've been exploring as part of my frozen shoulder recovery, and I think it's a really nice action for us all to feel into, so we can feel into internal and external rotation. We're going to go through lots of different ranges of movement through the shoulder and all of the joints of the arm. So we can start with our left arm. And then with the left arm, what we can do is we can play with a little bit of movement like so. So you can just dive your arm in like into this figure of 8 action. And then what I want you to do, so you can feel in that, there's a little movement between internal and external rotation. But we're just doing it on one level here. We're only lifting the arm up to one height if we just stay with this. And I want us to let the arm move around in all directions, in all movements. So I want you to just start to let that arm explore the space around you and move it in any direction, but we can keep moving between this internal and external rotation, this flexion of the elbow and extension and the rotation of the wrist. So just play around. It might be big sweeping movements. We might get into little small movements in places. If we let ourselves fold into this, we turn from the hip joints, we keep a little tone in the belly, and then we just let ourselves play into that movement. So we keep playing and moving and breathing through it. Okay? And as we play and move and breathe through it, we're feeling into all of that lovely range of movement that we get there. So it's very intuitive. We're not following any particular pattern here, apart from movement. Okay, let's bring ourselves back up to standing. Release the arm down. Soften the forehead, release the jaw. And just feel into what you feel there through the arm, through that release. Find the breath again. And then when you're ready, we're going to do the same thing with the other arm. So again, you may start it off with just this big sort of sweeping infinity symbol in the air. But then you can let yourself move around and just start to change that movement to move in any direction. But be aware that we are moving between internal and external rotation. So we play with the movement. We're moving with the rotation of the wrist. We can even move through the fingers and that flexion of the elbow. And it might be big movements, it might be small movements, rolling movements, sweeping movements, whatever just happens. We're not actually thinking about what we're doing here. We're just allowing it to happen. Okay. So once again, let's come back to the center. We'll release our arms down. We'll soften the forehead. We'll release the jaw. We'll let the breath flow. And we drop our attention into the center. Okay. So let's bring our feet in towards each other now. I'm going to roll the shoulders back, so we're still in a Tadasana position, but this with the feet in close to each other, they don't have to touch. That's important. And let's feel into Tadasana. Let's really bring ourselves into this posture. So we're not just simply standing, but we're standing in a complete awareness here. We are guiding energy up through the body by deepening the feet into the floor, feeling that light lift up through the midline. There's a little light tone in the belly. There's a little light lift that comes to the chest and a broadness that opens up or opens across the chest and collarbones. The arms hang. We can feel the shoulder blades as they slide down the back, and they can snuggle in more towards the rib cage. You can feel where the head is positioned on the top of the neck. So we might move the head a little and then just bring the head back into the center. Take some deep breaths. Okay, and then from here, we're going to raise our arms in a wide circle. We're going to interlace the fingers. We're going to turn the palms up towards the ceiling. So the belly is nicely toned, the chest is lifted, the breath is flowing. The forehead is soft and the jaw releases. Okay, now we're going to play again with a little bit of movement, and we're going to allow a little bit of flexion to come into the elbows and movement into the shoulders, movement into the knees and hips. So we're going to bend our knees as we take our arms out. So we can take our arms out towards the left, and then we're going to circle the arms around. So we bend the knees. We push through the feet as we come up, and you can let your elbows bend into it as much as they need to be able to move through this, to support the lower back. So that bending of the knees will encourage the tilt of the pelvis. Okay, we're going to take it in the other direction when you're ready. So let's move the arms in the opposite direction. Keep the breath steady and fluid. And then we'll come back up to the center when you're ready. We'll release the fingers. We'll release the arms down. We'll let the arms hang. We'll take a few breaths. We'll step the feet around about hip width apart again. So we come into this posture that it often feels a little more stable with the feet directly below the hips, toes pointing forward to make sure they're not turning out. So you're aligning your rollerblades or your ice skates, you're lining up the blades or you're lining up the wheels. So they're parallel to each other. You're rolling your shoulders back. You're rising the chest up. You're toning the belly. And again, we can keep feeding into this kind of light combing lift up through the body with full expansive breaths. Okay. We're going to ease off. We're going to take a brick block. We're going to pop it on the floor in front of us and slightly stagger yourselves in the studio so you haven't got someone directly in front of you. So this will allow you to be able to fold forwards without colliding with another being. Okay, so we've got our feet lined up. That's it. Perfect. Okay, we're going to rise up, lift, extend. Again, find that tone in the belly, and then we're going to tilt from the hip joint. So what I'd like you to do to help this is to just slide your fingers up the thighs, find that little indent at the top of the thighs, and I want you to just give it a little push. Give it a little push. Lengthen the chest away from that area that you're pushing into. So as you push your fingers in, pelvis will start to tilt, and I want you to lift up into the chest. It's all, I don't know, it almost feels like a little line dancing kind of action, arms out. And then we're going to fold ourselves. We're going to keep going. So keep pushing the fingers in. And then you can release the hands and bring the hands down to your brick, bending your knees as much as you need to reach your brick. Okay, so that is, if your back is rounding to get there, you bend your knees. Okay, so we're looking to maintain that length through the front of the body. Now let's play into a little movement here. So we're going to take some more circles or spiraling action through the hips, so we can lean forwards towards our block and pull back away from it as we circle the hips around. Or you can take it into a little figure of 8. So you can play with movement into the hips here. And we can feel the breath at the heart of the action, of the practice, of our experience of being. Okay, we come back to the center. So it may have helped you to loosen up through the hips, maybe to loosen up through the back of the thighs. And if you feel that there's a little more tilt in the pelvis, you're welcome to fold yourselves down, lowering the blocks, bringing the fingers to the floor, or even folding into a forward fold to hold your elbows or your biceps. And just breathing here, wherever you are, but you can stay up on your brick if you need to. So we don't push, we don't force. We listen and we respond. We let the posture come to us. So rather than just trying to make the posture happen in a particular way, we're letting it come to us. The breath is steady. Okay, we're going to bring ourselves back up from here. So let's bend the knees and place our hands onto the thighs. We'll push into the thighs. We'll then push into the feet and we'll come all the way up. We'll roll the arms back. We can have a little shimmy, a little shake out, a deeper breath or two. Okay, I want us to step our feet a little wider now. So it's not quite as wide as we might go for a Trikonasana posture, a triangle pose, for instance, but it's generous. It's much wider than hip width. We're going to let the toes turn out. Okay, so they're kind of going in this direction like that. Okay, and then we're going to bend the knees into this, and we're going to come down and we're going to sit down like as though we were about to sit on a chair or maybe sit over a horse. Okay, so we'll come down, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring our hands onto our thighs. So we're going to bring our arms into this kind of braced position. And we're going to take a few breaths. And then from this braced position, so we're already probably starting to feel work into the hips and into the thighs, but we're going to let the body move a little. So first of all, we're going to let ourselves sway a little from side to side. And we're going to give the breath to that. Okay, then we're going to come back to the center. And then we're going to take a little turn into this. So you can draw your right shoulder forwards, but we're keeping that right arm straight. So the left elbow will bend. So we're getting a stretch all the way up through that right side of the body. And then we come back into the center and we do the same to the other side. So as the shoulder moves forwards, the arm is still braced in this extended position. That gives us a stretch all the way up through the latissimus dorsi muscle. And the other elbow bent. So we can just move from side to side at our own pace. So we should be able to feel this stretch coming up from the back of the pelvis all the way up to the shoulder. It's like a deep sort of sheet of stretch through the side of the back there as we reach in to this action. Okay, we're going to bring it back to the center when you're ready. We're going to push through the feet to come up. Well done. Let's turn the feet to the front. Let's step the feet back in towards each other. And we can stand with the feet hip width apart. We'll release the arms down. We'll come back to Tadasana. I think this is the last battle with the therapists in the Tree of Life for opening the back door. I'm going to open it one more time because I think they really all have gone. So sorry about that. They're obviously being very conscientious to make sure the place is locked up. Okay, we're back. Standing, releasing our arms down. And again, we're just bringing ourselves back to Tadasana. It's like our little home base. We return here and we relax into it. That's not to say that there is no energy being given to this, but that energy is a relaxed energy. It's a spacious energy. Okay, I'd like us now to release our jaw. So you can let that lower jaw release. We're just going to take some little circles of the jaw. Okay, so I know it's not the most sort of glamorous thing to do. You definitely wouldn't do it on a first date, probably. But, no one's observing what we look like, and we're just going to feel into this movement. So we're just going to do this. I can't talk while I do it, so I'll show you. So I'm taking a little circling action of the lower jaw. We're staying lifted through the body as we do this. And then we're going to change the direction of those circles. And then we'll come back to the center and we'll take a breath. And just feel where that takes us. Okay. We're going to ease off of this now. We're going to turn towards the short end of our mat. We're going to use our brick block and we're going to pop it on the floor between the feet. And then we're going to take a step back. So you can step back with your foot that's furthest from me, and we'll take a good, generous step back towards the back of our mat. We're going to lift up that back heel. We're going to internally rotate that back leg and then place the heel down. And as we do that, we might lift and lower a few times to stretch out that calf muscle. You may then need to walk that front foot a little wider if you're finding it difficult to bring this back hip, the hip of your back leg, that is, forwards. So we want the pelvis to be approximately in line with the short end of your mat. So it's not being pulled back by that back leg. So this is why we can play with encouraging the body into this, lifting and lowering the heel, adjusting the front foot. We're going to come towards a forward fold towards our block. Some of us may need to bend that front knee when we come into it, and it's totally fine to do this with a bent knee or an extended leg. But we're going to get that fold coming from the hip joints again. We're going to keep the body nice and light and lifted. Keep that tone in the belly, keep that little lift in the chest. And then in your own time, as you press through the feet, you can slowly start to hinge yourselves forwards and just bring your hands down onto your brick. And we take some deep breaths here. Now, if it's strong, bend the front knee, or even bend the knee and re-extend it. You can do that a few times. So you can gradually coax the leg into extension. An extension for you may still have a bent knee, but it might be that you just open up the angle of the knee joint a little more. Okay. And then it may be that we play with a little movements through the torso as well. So we can let the torso lean from side to side. And what we're doing here is attempting to encourage the body to lengthen through the midline. So as we lean from side to side, we feel like we feed, each time we lean to the side, we feed length back into the center. Okay. And then we come to pause, and we may pause there, or we may continue to fold. So if there is some release through the hamstrings, you're welcome to fold yourselves down. And there's two ways we can enter into this. We can bend our elbows and fold over the leg, or we can extend into this. So we can bring our arms forwards, bring our block forwards, and breathe. So this can be a really useful position, even if you are going to fold over your leg. This will encourage a little length into the torso first. So you may reach forwards, and then it might be that you feel you're able to release from the block and fold in. All of these positions I'm offering you are offerings. It's, not a dictatorship in the class, but it's, very much a guidance. You can choose to take it, or you can choose to move in a different way if you need to. Okay. So let's bring ourselves back to our brick. I want you to lift up your back heel now and then bend the front knee. And then I want you to step the back foot in a step. You may need to walk the brick a little further forwards because we're going to lift ourselves up. So we're going to lift that back leg up. So it's like a variation of Virabhadrasana number 3, warrior 3. And we breathe into it. Okay. Let's bend that standing knee again. Let's cross that raised leg behind the standing leg and place the foot on the floor off your yoga mat. So this front knee is bent, the back leg is in extension. You're going to pick up your block now, and then you're going to bring your block towards me, towards the screen. So then we've got this extension all the way through that side of the body. You can feel it coming up through that back leg, wrapping around the side of the body, wrapping around the rib cage as you breathe. It may feel strong into the hip of the bent leg, into the buttock, but we've got our breath as a support. Okay, let's bring that brick back in. Let's bring the leg back in, and we'll just place the foot on the floor. So we're back into a forward fold position that we did earlier. Again, we can play with any movement here, so we can have a little wiggle, a little bounce out, a little shake, a deeper breath. And then when you're ready, bending the knees, pushing into the brick, raising yourselves up, releasing the arms back, That's it, softening the forehead, releasing the jaw. And if you need to move the body in any way you can, maybe you need a little shake out, maybe you need to shake out the feet on that. Okay, so we're going to take a step back again so we can have our brick between our feet. You're going to step back your foot that's closest to me or closest to the screen. We're going to take a good, generous step back on our mat. Again, we want to encourage this hip of the back leg to come forwards to align the hip. So we might lift up the back heel, internally rotate the back leg and place the heel down, maybe lifting and lowering to tease out the stretch through the calf, maybe walking the front foot wider across the mat, then toning the belly and lifting through the chest. And then again, we're going to fold ourselves forward. So we're going to turn from the hip joints as we come down. So we're keeping this length through the front of the torso. You bend your front knee if you need to. So it's the same principle as the forward fold that we took, the standing forward fold. If you find that you're rounding your back to reach your block, bend your knee. If it's too strong on the back of the knee, bend your knee. So you can play as well. So if that stretch through the hamstrings is quite tight, then a little bending of the knee and a re-extending may help you to loosen up through that. So you can really play into that. And then in your own time, again, we'll bring that leg towards extension. And for you, extension may still have a bent knee. So we're extending an appropriate amount for the body's needs in this moment. We're finding the breath, and then once again, we're going to perhaps walk that brick forwards, or you can simply fold over the leg or stay where you are. Again, remember, these are all offerings. And of course, you're welcome to continue folding into it or staying at a higher level. Okay, let's bring ourselves back up. So we're going to lift up that back heel. We're going to bend the front knee. We're going to take the block forwards. We're going to step the back foot in a step so we can shift our weight into the front foot whilst we're balanced. And then make sure we've got a good distance between our brick and our front foot. So that represents the length of your body. And then you raise that back leg up. So we're bringing that back leg up towards being parallel with the body. Okay. We'll bend the standing knee. We're going to cross that back leg behind the standing leg. Bring the toes to the floor off your mat. So we bring that leg into extension. The front knee remains bent. And then you're going to take your brick away from me, away from the screen, away from this side of the room. So again, we can reach into that stretch through the side of the body. Oh. Okay, let's bring that brick back in. Shift your weight into your front foot. Bring the back leg forwards. Place it about hip width apart. So we come back into our forward fold position. We find the breath. And we give to it. Okay. Well done. Let's bend the knees. Let's come down. And we're going to turn. You're going to turn towards this side of the room. We can give the legs a little stretch out. Okay. And then we're going to come into Sukhasana, crossing our legs, drawing the buttock flesh out and back behind us. Lifting up through the chest. If you feel collapsed, I want you to sit on a block or a couple of blocks, and you can take support with a blanket underneath your shins if you need to. We'll place our hands onto the knees or thighs. Again, we want to feel this broadness across the collarbones, this light lift up through the center of the body. Forehead is softening. Jaw releasing. And then we're going to play with a little movement. So we're going to roll around the hips again. So more circular actions. So we can start by doing this with the body nice and upright. But then we may bring the spine into the movement too, if we wish, if that feels comfortable for us. Through the lower back, we can start to let the spine undulate into it so we can arch more as we come forwards, and we can round the back as we draw back. Okay, I'd like you to come back to the center in your own time. Just pause. Let the body land in the center. Sometimes there's almost a little ripple, an echo of that movement that remains. So we can wait for that to just ease off. And then we'll take the movements in the other direction so we can let ourselves again. Maybe we'll do it with the body staying sort of relatively upright, so all of the movement is being led from the hips. But then we may start to pick up a little bit of movement in the body so we can let the spine start to roll. Let the shoulders move. And let the breath flow. Okay, we're going to come back to the center and we're going to pause there. Okay, I'd like us to, you might need a block to sit on for this. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together and the knees apart. So we're going to hold on to the shins or the ankles. Breathing. Sorry, I'm just smiling because I can see my friend's got her dog on her yoga mat with her now. Hello, Padme, the dog. So we can have a little play around here now. We can hold onto our shins and we can play with a little bit of movement here. So again, we'll play with that little rotation. We can breathe. And then we can change the direction of those rotations. And then we'll bring it back into the center. We'll pause. So we're going to release our legs from here, but we're going to come and do a reclined version of that posture, Supta Baddha Konasana. So what we'll do in studio is, actually we're going to do it with blocks because I actually prefer it with blocks than bolsters. So we're going to have 2 flat blocks each, and you can have, actually we can have 3 flat blocks each to make a really good lift, and a blanket. So I know that you guys at home who are in the class tonight know how to make a lift for Supta Baddha Konasana, so I'll let you get on with that, and then I'll show you guys in studio what we're doing here. So I'm going to bring you some extra blocks around. So everyone to have 3 blocks. So at the moment, I think you've all got 1 each. So I'll bring 2 more around each. There we go. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put them, position the blocks, 2 blocks next to each other, short end to short end. And they're going to go down the length of your mat. So don't worry, I will show you if that doesn't make any sense to you, like this. Okay, so 2 blocks, and then that's going to be your 3rd block, like that. Okay, so pop your blocks on your mat, like so. You can have a belt nearby, because we're going to use a belt as well. You're going to take a blanket. So we've got these blankets in studio, and I'm pretty sure those of you who've dialed into the class this evening will have yoga blankets too. So we're going to have the blanket folded up into quarters like this. And then I want you to hold it. So you're holding the long end across like that. So kind of holding it in a landscape position. That's it. So just make sure you've got it into quarters in a landscape position. And then I'd like you to pleat that. And you're going to pleat it so it's going to be a similar width to this kind of width of your blocks. Okay, it might be a little narrower, and that's fine. But you want a nice, neat pleat if you can. And then checking your blanket, because one end of the pleat is going to be less neat than the other end. I want you to find the neat end, and I want you to pop that at that end of your lift. And then you're going to take your blanket over your lift like this. And we've got this length of blanket that's left over, which we might use in a moment to sort of tuck under and give ourselves a little bit more head support. What you might need if you're taller, when you come down into this lift, this might be too short. So your head's going to be here. This is going to be your body, and your bum's going to be there on the floor. If you suspect you might need a longer lift, you just open up a little gap between those blocks if you're a little longer in the torso, and then it will be fine. Okay, so that will give you more length on your lift. Okay, when we've done that, we're going to take a belt, and I appear to have one ready-made, which is good, although it has got a twist in it. So you want to bring your belt into a big loop like this without twisting the belt. Mine is, oh, maybe it's not twisted. No, that's perfect. And then when you've got your loop, you're going to sit in front of your lift. You're going to bring your feet together. You're going to take your loop over the top of the head, okay, like a hula hoop. So I'll just show you, and I can come round and help you in a moment. Once you've looped your belt, it comes around, so it's around your waist like it's a big hoop, but then you're going to pull it down. It's going to come around the back of the pelvis, not the waist, and then you're going to hook it underneath your feet, and then you're going to pull to tighten your belt. So you might need to shuffle the belt around. I want you to let the buckle end up in a location that it's not digging into your body, into your flesh. So you pull on the belt, you tighten the belt so the feet get drawn in closer towards you, and the belt is nice and taut. You hook the belt back down around the back of the pelvis, because almost certainly it's slid up into the back of the waist. And then when you've done all of that, you're going to bring yourselves down by placing your hands on the floor, either side of your lift, pressing your hands into the floor, drawing your buttocks forward. So you start up right against the lift. Then there's a little scoot forwards of the buttocks. Then chin tucked into the chest, press into the hands, lengthen, and then you come down. And then hopefully your head lands on that third block. If you want a little bit more support, you've got a bit of blanket there that you can pleat underneath. And then voila, there you are in Supta Baddha Konasana. Now, some of you might need support underneath the knees, underneath the thighs. If it feels tight, if it feels uncomfortable in the hips, in the inner thighs, or the lower back, let me know, and I'm going to come and bring you some extra support. Usually in this posture, the people who need supporting are the people who haven't got so much movement in the hips or have got loads of movement in the hips. Okay, so what can happen is if you're really opening the hips, the knees drop down and it's almost too much. It makes the lower back lift up. So if you're feeling like you can't just lay here and just relax, you're resisting it in some way, then let me know, because there's things we can do to make it comfortable. Okay. So everyone's comfortable in their lower back? Yeah. Yeah, great. Everyone's comfortable in the inner thighs and inner groin area? And don't worry if you're comfortable now, but you know, in a few breaths' time, you think, oh, actually, this is starting to become strong. Just put your hand up and I'll come and give you some support. Sometimes it slowly creeps up on you. So just let me know if you need that support. So once we're there, if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes. But of course, you're welcome to keep your eyes open. Your arms are either positioned a little away from the body with the palms facing up, so down by the side, out at shoulder height, or even you can take your arms above your head and hold your elbows. Or you can rest your hands on the front of the hips or on the ribs, on the belly, chest, wherever feels comfortable. And then we're going to just allow ourselves to feel into the coolness of our inhalations. And also feeling into the warmth of our exhalations. Do you like the lips? This one, make it. There we go. How's that? Is that better? Good. Okay. So yeah, I can see it's creeping up on a couple of you. How's that? Is that enough? You can adjust that if you need to. And let's take some slower, deeper breaths now. Let's really attune ourselves to that lengthening of the breath, that depth of the breath. and the nature of the release that follows those slower, deeper breaths. So we're going to bring ourselves out of this now for Shavasana before our meditation. So those of you who've got a little extra support under the thighs, if you just move that now, it will make it easier to come out. And then you can all bring your arms down by your side. So you can bring your hands and forearms to the floor. You can tuck your chin forward. You can press into your hands and forearms, walking your hands back as you push and extend your arms, and then you'll push yourselves up with ease. Okay, well done. We can release from the belt. So you can just pull on the buckle to loosen the belt, bring the belt out, and then we're going to prepare to lay ourselves down for Shavasana. You might want a little movement when you come down. So as we often do sometimes, and particularly after that position where there was a little bit of a supported arch through the lumbar there, you might want to loosen up around the lumbar by dropping the knees from side to side, or you might want to hug the knees into the chest. So you can do all of those things as you wish. And I'll bring some bolsters around, which you might want to use underneath your knees now. But obviously we will probably be using a bolster as some support for meditation. So feel free to use them now if you want. What's that? Yeah, good idea. You can totally do that. There we go. There we go. So we lay down, we take our time to adjust the body as we need to in Shavasana, so we're comfortable. And then with our eyes closed, we can let our awareness almost filter down through the body into our center. And our center may be a particular area that we feel to be our center, sometimes around the heart area, the heart center, Hridaya. or maybe the belly, or maybe there's a sense of the center that is less locational, but more of a state of being. Take a slower, deeper breath or two here. And then in your own time, you're going to slowly bend your knees and place your feet to the floor, feeling this as a conscious movement, a spacious movement, relaxed movement. And then, in your own time, you may roll onto your side to face away from the window, away from the screen. Just pause there. And then you may roll over onto your other side and pause there. And then you're going to slowly bring yourselves up from your side, maybe with a little movement, a little stretch out, but don't disturb yourself too much, because we're going to come to sit in a comfortable seated posture. So just come to position yourself ready for meditation. So remembering that the principles of our seat are that we can sit upright effortlessly. So we take the supports that we need to enable that to happen. So it'll be slightly different for all of us. But you can feel into whether or not there is an effortlessness to your posture. That's what we're looking for. We've got all of the supports we need so the body is able to relax into it. But we stay long through the torso. So we may rest our hands on our thighs or in our lap. And we'll close our eyes. We're just going to lightly check the position of our head. So I'm just going to very softly tip the head forward so the chin comes towards the throat. And then very softly tip the head back a little, not too much, so we get a slight lift in the chin. And then drop the head back into that center point so you can feel that there is a naturalness to the head position. If it feels like it's not quite level side to side, you can do the same thing by tipping your head from one side and then to the other, even a couple of times, and then letting the head land in the center. Find that central position. And then we'll feel into the shape of the body. We'll feel into the base, our contact that we have through our seat. And there is a sense of giving to that base contact. It supports us. We'll then come to the breath. And just let the breath flow in and out of the body with ease. With a spaciousness. We're going to feel into the skull, the inside, into the area where our brain is located. And feel that we're able to allow this area to be soft, to feel spacious, to even feel space in this location. If you get pulled away from that spaciousness, that space inside the head into objects of consciousness, fluctuations, then just bring your attention to your breath until you feel ready to enter into the spaciousness of the head. And if that doesn't come, that's opportunity to enter into space inside our own head, then we just simply stay with quiet observation and appreciation of the breath. And if we're able to connect to that sense of spaciousness relatively easily, we may be able to expand that spaciousness into the body. We may be able to expand that spaciousness through the body. So the internal space meets the external space around us. All the while, the breath continues to flow. Take some slower, deeper breaths and maybe just pass your hands there over the thighs or even over your face, so you feel like we come back in to the room, anywhere over the body, a little energy bar. And then we're going to bring our hands to the heart center so we can close our practice together. We'll chant Om 3 times together. So let's take a breath in to prepare. Thank you all very much. Namaste, Namovaha. Reference to you all. Thank you. Thanks at home. Nice to see you all. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. Hope you